Welcome to the Rock Music Alliance interview sessions. I'm your host, Cole Coleman. On our show today, an artist who has worked with such top shelf musicians as Tommy Henriksen of Alice Cooper, the Hollywood Vampires, and RMA Award nominated band Crossbones Skully. Richard Fortus of Guns N' Roses, Buck Johnson of Aerosmith, Billy Sheehan, Kenny Aronoff, and the list goes on and on. From the band Hellings, welcome to our show, Brett Hellings.
Hi, guys. What's going on? Very, very happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate it. Really enjoying your style of rock. I wanted to ask you, now, how would you describe your style of rock to our listeners?
Well, my style of rock has changed over the years. It started, I just listened to the greats back in the day and trying to find my style within, listen to this amazing music from the 60s and 70s is what my big influences were, Aerosmith, the Stones, the Zeppelin. And then I even went back further into, the Muddy Waters and the blues movement and, all the good kings, Albert Kings, Freddie King. And I was just listening to all kinds of different stuff while I was being a worship leader, actually, believe it or not, in my church. And I was learning to kind of combine that spiritual element, that thing that you can't touch, with all this really earthy, down, rootsy blues, and then I started to find bands like the Black Crowes and Oasis, and then the grunge movement came along, and I saw my first concert, which was Scott Weiland at that time, the Vet in Philadelphia. And I saw Scott Weiland, and I was just blown away by his performance. And after that, I just was like, that's my style of rock. Whatever that is, I want to do. And it was real. It was fun. It was also very dark, but it was just so entertaining. And so what I wanted to do. And combining all those different styles, I started just to try to find my own voice and try to find my own thing. Listen to a lot of Bon Scott, listen to a lot of Paul Rogers, all kinds of different singers to try to find my voice. And then combining that with my songwriting, I was just trying out everything. And I made an album, and it did well. And then I went out to LA. And when I went out to LA and I started being around all of my contemporaries, which at that time wasn't, you go out there, you think you're going to find the next doors, well, of course, but Jim wasn't out there at that time in the 2000s, but you start to find all these other people that are just really talented and really cool. And that kind of inspires you. And then I started to get into more of a soul sort of thing, bringing that back in. So my sort of rock and roll is like, it was definitely blues rock influence, but with a lot of soul. I would say my soul, my dad actually was the one who inspired that, and I didn't even know it. When I was really young, I would go down to the shore and he'd be playing Smokey Robinson and Four Tops and the Temptations and all that stuff. And I didn't realize at that time it would come into my music and later on. And I went back to my instruments to really find my sound. Playing guitar and playing piano is really so important for a songwriter, finding your sound. So I would say like a soul rock is where I kind of ended up or am at right now, So,
yeah, I got you. It's like I've said before for people, it's you have your main influences, but literally like everything you listen to or get exposed to kind of goes into a musician's soul and kind of rattles around and solidifies in some way, Yeah, and for anybody listening, for our listeners, we're going to be checking out a new release by Brett in just a few minutes. But yeah, I was checking out your previous releases, Brett, and I was checking out Rehab for Love and A Fool for Love, and I really enjoyed them. Now, what I get out of it was exactly what you're saying, a blues style of rock. I hear some Rolling Stones in there for sure, man. Yeah. Which I got to say, I loved it. It's like anybody who is a fan of the Stones, go check out Hellings. And this is like a new, fresh kind of take on that. Now you've been working and recording with some amazing musicians, like Tommy Henriksen, Buck Johnson, Billy Sheehan, Eric Halbig. Was there a catalytic moment in your career that opened that door for you to these people?
There was. I got played on Alice Cooper's radio show or his podcast, Nights with Alice Cooper. I had a girl submit my stuff and it got played. And David Davidian, who is Alice Cooper's tour manager, checked it out and he kind of contacted me and said, "What are you doing, kid? Where you been?" And I was like, "Oh, I've been here the whole time. I've just been making music." And he really liked me. And then he kind of brought together this group of musicians with the Billy Sheehan and Tommy Hendrickson and Buck and Richard Fortus all together to make a record during the COVID era when everything was locked down. They took my songs, their songs, and we all went down to El Paso and we created a record and we hit it off so well. And it turned out to be the record Borderline, which I encourage you guys to go check it out. It's a really good predecessor to what you're going to hear with Chance on Love, and Rehab for Love's on that, Full in Love, and we just had the best time, and it was an amazing experience, and that was like the catalyst to these new relationships. I never played with such high caliber musicians before. I was very nervous. I went down. I didn't know what to think, but they accepted me as one of their own, and we made a great record, and that led to me and Rich bonding, and Tommy and all those guys, but me and Rich really forged a bond, and we created this new EP that you're about to hear. So that was the catalyst for me, and I'm not looking back after that, and more to come. And this new but 6-song EP really showcases more of me as a songwriter, and people like Daryl Jones from the Rolling Stones is on this new record, which is an amazing thing you say about the Stones. I got to play with one, which just blows my mind every day I wake up. And you'll hear more of that soul rock kind of thing, a very that good old rock and roll influence sort of stuff. It's just what's it. But David Davidian, I have to give it to him. He's my brother, and he really gave me that shot to shine and be around people that are such of like mind to me. And I've never really been around that sort of committed, passionate, just ridiculously talented people.
Yeah, it's a very refreshing feeling, from the fight to get up out of what I call the snake pit,
I was in that snake pit for a while, which is good because you learn who you are down there, and you learn how to write, and that's kind of what gave me the ability to get to those guys. Once you're there, though, you are just grateful.
Completely, I understand, man. Now, I really like your upbeat, rocky songs. I'm kind of more partial to the energetic, fun kind of things, But I do see that, one of your most listened to songs is your power ballad, "Kill Me to Keep Loving You." Mm-hmm. Now, tell us how that song came about for you.
"Kill Me to Keep Loving You" was a song that was brought to me when I was doing those sessions down in El Paso. And we were looking for, of course, a ballad. And Eric Halbig and Buck had written this song. And I'm not really into singing songs that I haven't written. I've never used to it. I was always just my own thing, individual. Always wrote my own songs, always did this thing. But they brought me this song, and they're like, "Brett, you just got to give it a shot." We wrote it for somebody else that didn't really want to sing it. I won't name names, but I think you could just do great. And you know what? I opened up my mind and my voice to it, and it just became something magical. And it really, it was so easy. I thought it was going to be so hard to sing, but when I was in it, it just became so fluid. It was just like I knew it, and it related with me and what I was going through at that time. A big breakup I was kind of going through, and life changes, and I just went in there and just sang it and nailed it, and really people loved it, and it's now become part of who I am, and part of my catalog that I'm very proud of.
Yeah, it's terrific when that happens. I mention this quite often with people that I interview, where when you're doing a song, when you're recording a song, and you just have this feeling, sometimes, it's like you just know that this song is something special.
And that's when I heard the demo of it, and Buck was singing it, and I was like, I don't know, there's just something about the song, and I think I could do it. I think I could do it justice, and they knew I could. And when I went in there to do it, it all just worked out, and people really seemed to enjoy it. And I can't really go a performance without singing it. So it's one of those, you know. You have those staple songs. I will never forget Tommy Hendrickson saying, he's like, well, you're never going to be able to not sing this song. You're going to sing this song for the rest.
Yeah, you're stuck singing this one for a long time, kid.
All right.
Yeah, that's the good kind of difficulties to
Oh,
have, you know.
yeah, I'm not complaining.
Yeah. Well, the latest song, your latest release that we're about to do listen to here is called "Take a Chance on Love" and is also a power ballad. How
Yeah.
did this song come about for you?
So we're actually just calling it Chance on Love,
Oh,
and it take a chance on, but Chance on Love is the final title. And this came about when I had a little baby girl. I had a baby girl about 3 years ago, and I was just actually just playing the Viper Room at the time, and Rich came out to the show, and I hadn't talked to him in a while. He was out there doing rehearsals for Guns, and he came to the show and he just loved it. Me and Rich reconnected, and I said, why don't we do another record together? And he goes, let's do it. I got the band, and that band happened to be Daryl Jones and Charlie Drayton. And I had a keyboard player named Kerry Frank that I really wanted a part of it. But this band has already been a band, the Daisies, and they were just such a super group within themselves. And so we went into the studio, and during that summer when I was just a new father, I was writing all these tunes, and I don't know, something kind of divine kind of hit me, and having all this love and this newfound feeling, you know, for something and someone. I don't know, I channeled it into something, and for once, I wanted to take a chance on myself, love myself more, so that I could love something so little and so innocent and real and true. And so, chance on love is my chance, giving myself a chance to love truly. And that's where the song came from. And the music was written very quickly. It was like one of those songs that just kind of pops out, and it was given to me. And you know, when you tap into whatever that source is, you know, it's pretty powerful. And um, I I I wrote it, and then I gave it to Rich. I thought he was going to hate it because it was so slow. You know, it was such a crescendoed song, but he loved it, and he put all kinds of strings on it, his feel on it. I wrote it on piano. He did it. He put his guitar genius around it, and it became this just really really special thing. And very very proud of it. And that's how it all came about.
great, man. Well, you know, let's take a sample, look and listen. Here's a minute and a half of Hellings' new release on video as well here. Chance on Love on the Rock Music Alliance. That was Brett Hellings' new release, Chance on Love, on the Rock Music Alliance. Brett, who are the players on that recording and in the video?
So the players in that video and recording it is the great Richard Fortus, who produced the record as well with me. So it was kind of our project from the beginning. From that, he put a band together of his friends from New York, and all over of Daryl Jones from the Rolling Stones, which was an incredible honor to be able to just be around him, play with him, record with him, and also Charlie Drayton on drums. And Charlie, it's been one of my favorite drummers. And Keith Richards, one of his favorite drummers forever. He was in the Expensive Winos. He's played with Dylan, all kinds of different people. Amazing experience working with Charlie Drayton. And then Kerry Frank was laying down the keys and Hammond B3. And those that makes up the five of us with me singing, and those are that's the crew. And we went up to Mission Sound in New York, which is right in Brooklyn, and we spent about 2 weeks putting this thing together. And then I flew out to St. Louis and stayed with Rich and did all my vocals out there, and completed the record. It was mixed by Tim Palmer, who's an incredible person, worked a lot with Stones as well. So we have a lot of Stones influence, and just people that have been very close with them, not just influence with them, actually played with them and mixed them and did all kinds of different things. So, but I think me and Rich really, this was kind of like our project together. And he's probably one of my favorite producers I've ever worked with. He's never changes anything. He just makes everything better. He just enhances everything. He never wants to take away from the authenticity that I'm bringing to the table. Whatever that moment I had when I had that thought and I had that idea, he wants to make sure to maintain that, and never change it. He's like the perfect producer for someone like me. Always very respectful. He just makes everything sound better. So why wouldn't you not work with someone like that?
Exactly, exactly. One thing I just got a glimpse of in the video there was Richard Fortus playing the cello.
I know,
Yeah.
right? He told me, and it was in the summer. I went to him and I said, well, I would like some strings on it. Would you do it? And he not only put strings on it, I think he put like 50 layers of strings. I think his wife had to tell him, I think there's enough string parts on this, and you hear it within the whole thing. But he put so many strings on that because he can quadruple himself. He could like layer himself. He That's how he started out. He was a string player in when he was very young. So he started out in the orchestra more than guitar, and then he got tatted out and learned how to play, a six string, and got into Thin Lizzy and all kinds of different groups, and eventually Guns N' Roses, which they're doing so well, and I'm so proud of those guys who got back together. It was the great, but I just like Oasis reunion, Guns N' Roses getting back together. It's such a good thing for music.
Very cool. Yeah. So one more time, just for my clarity here. So, like, of the producers you were working with here, you feel is there one that stands out to you?
Oh man, there's so many. So I'm gonna say Rich because it was so easy to work with him. But working with Tommy Hendrickson and Buck was an amazing experience. I think I learned more from them than any production team. I would go down in Nashville and they would just work on my vocals so much and be so intuitive and so analytical to maniacal, to the extent of just getting it so right. And I learned so much in those recordings. So I would say working with Tommy and Buck and then Rich are some of the best producers I've ever worked with. I've worked with a lot of producers. I worked with Rick Parker before. Rick is a great producer from back in the day. I've worked with Dan Walsh, who's done great stuff with Ghost, that band. But I would say Rich is my favorite. But next to Tommy and Buck, all of them combined. I don't like to take favorites because I love them all. So
I would imagine too. It would depend on what song you're working on.
but it's very, very. It's it's the subject line that really counts. I would say with Rich, anything works. But with Tommy and Buck, those upbeat sort of things, the Rehab for Loves and Fool Loves, they're just perfect. They're so good. And Buck is so amazing. And was such an amazing producer on Kill Me. there's guys who just know how to write, they know how to play, they know how to do it. Their experience level is just so what I needed. I never met anybody that was so at my level because they were so far above me. So it was like to go into a room where you feel like you're like, oh, I'm at home. It was that's what it felt like with those guys.
Terrific, man. Terrific. Well, let's pause here for a brief word from our sponsor. And when we come back, I'm going to ask Brett a little bit about his early days and how his band Hellings is a tale of two brothers. We'll be right back. Attention guitar players, the Thimble Slide allows you to slide and fret, freeing your slide finger. The Thimble Slide is a mini guitar slide designed to be worn on the tip of your finger, about halfway down your fingernail. When worn there, you can still bend your finger, and most importantly, it's allowing enough of your fingertip through so you can still press the guitar strings. With its patented shape, you can slide and fret while wearing the Thimble Slide. Visit thimbleslide.com. That's thimbleslide.com. I'm Cole Coleman, asking you to join the Rock Music Alliance Patreon. When you join our Patreon, there's different stuff you'll get at different levels, and there's things in our store, so be sure to check that out. And you'll be helping us to continue to interview artists and industry people and put on our greatest event, the RMA Awards for rock, metal, and progressive rock music. So join the Rock Music Alliance Patreon.
Hey everyone, I'm Katie Daryl from the Top 10 Revealed, and you're listening to Rock Music Alliance.
We're back with Brett Hellings on the Rock Music Alliance. Time for just a few more questions, Brett. Wanted to ask you, where were you born and raised, and how did you get into music?
I was born and raised in Chester County, Pennsylvania, like Media, Pennsylvania. And I got into music, I think, through my dad. You know, my dad was always playing the jukebox on Saturday nights. And my mom and dad were both really big music lovers, dancers, never really like musically inclined. But my brother, who is 10 years older than me, started to get into rock and roll right when I was around 10. And that was the grunge movement. And I'll never forget my brother buying a guitar and him never playing it. And I remember getting up to his apartment one day and hanging out with him. I was like, what is this thing? And I remember picking it up and playing, I don't know, some Nirvana song very easily just by hearing it, you know. And he was like, how did you just do that? I'm like, I don't know. I just listened to it and I just did it. So he goes, you can have it. So I took his guitar and I obsessed about that thing from age 11 to 14. And while I was still going to church, I was kind of like, that was like my outlet to like just learn how to play, get on stage. And I started to worship lead while I was still learning guitar. And before that, I started taking piano lessons when I was 9. I hated them. I always told my mom, please don't let me go before school. Oh my goodness, I'm so tired. But I ended up thanking her for sending me there because it trained my ear so well. So that combined with, you know, my brother's guitar and the influences from the 90s and going and seeing my first rock concert, which was like I said, Stone Temple Pilots, just impacted me so much that I was like, this is the only thing I ever wanted to do. And so I took that passion and I just started writing on my own, writing. And right around 19, I went down to Nashville and created a record, went to New York, and then I flew myself out to LA, and the rest is history. I spent about a decade out there, and then I just traveled all around, back to Nashville, back to LA, all over the place until my like late 30s when I got the opportunity to go play with the big boys. And that's where I'm at. But that's how I started. It was very humbly. I don't have anybody that really plays music or does that sort of thing. So it was my solitude. It was my solace. It was my thing. And it took me to here. I never gave up with it, and I don't know what else I would have really be doing besides playing rock and roll and playing my soul.
Interesting thought. I mean, maybe you would be in a praise band at church.
If Robert Plant didn't come along,
Yeah. It's interesting. I just want to mention for people listening, I mean, through course of interviewing people, I would guesstimate at this point around 60 to 70% of musicians that I've interviewed had done some sort of church youth group.
No way.
They sang in the choir, they sang in the youth choir, they played guitar in the folk group, something like that. It's really amazing thing.
And
Yeah.
even the best singers, even in pop music and like the Whitney Houstons and stuff like that, they all kind of grew up in the church kind of thing, and I really did. And I just didn't want to be segregated in just one Christian rock kind of group, or status. And I took it into kind of more of a, I guess you could say, secular kind of thing. But my soul, bringing it into that blues rock kind of thing, just made sense to me. I just wanted to reach more people and go live life. But the more that I've gotten older, I kind of go back to it. I go back to my spirit and my soul music and that worship sort of like alliance that I've had with my Lord. So it's been interesting, especially Chance on Love has a lot of those elements. Becoming a dad, now I'm getting back into my roots. It's come almost full circle.
Yeah, no, reading, of course, about your biography, I saw that you and your brother Christian, you're traveling all around for a while. Were you both pursuing separate careers at that point?
We were still doing our same thing. It was just, things got tough when you get out to LA, and everything kind of disbands at one point. I kept on with the music. He wanted to go in different directions, especially with art. And he's so talented in so many different ways. I'm kind of talented in one way, songwriting, performance, singing. He went into art, poetry, philosophy, all kinds of different things. But we still talk today. He's very supportive of all the stuff I'm doing, and he just says, keep it going, bro. So
yeah, for a while there, it was your story was reminding me of the Van Halen brothers.
Yeah,
it's interesting little parallel.
it is a brother band. So and hopefully one day, fingers crossed, or not knocking on wood, maybe we'll get back on stage together again. It'd be nice. I kept the name Hellings for him, though. I just go by Hellings, but it was Brett Hellings when I first started out, but I changed it to Hellings, and I'm keeping it that way. A little homage to what we started and
Yeah, that's
finished.
cool.
Yeah.
And like you never know when your paths cross again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
We tried to write over the Christmas break, and we ended up leaving the room. But we, ended up separating. We're like, I don't know if I'm into that yet. But he's so funny. He is always sending me stuff and still inspiring me and always showing me new music. And he was really the reason that I got into rock and roll. So I have to thank him so much for that.
So the band Hellings, your band, forming here in Los Angeles, how would you compare the LA club scene at that time to what it is today?
Ooh, I would say it was a lot more healthy. You still had the Key Club and you still had Roxy, happening. It still was a dying breed. There wasn't a lot going on in the early 2000s. But no one was getting paid, and labels were being, were disintegrating in front of your face. With streaming and no one being able to get paid, and there was no money for marketing new bands, developing new bands. So it was like I didn't really even want to be a part of it because I knew I couldn't get to a point where I could develop as a songwriter, as a musician, good enough for anybody to hear. And I definitely didn't want, back in the day, to be part of whatever trend was happening just so they could sell records or whatever. So it was hard. Today, it's like wide open. It's just there hasn't been a movement yet again. And I feel that there's something like that happening, especially with everything just kind of like going back to even. I think the people are going to figure out how to manage and run their own kind of companies, like how I do. I have my independent record label, and be smart enough to know how to make good music, and that's what they should stand by, and not this let's flash pan, let's over promote, let's push it in their face. Just sit in your room and learn how to really find your sound and listen to yourself. And I think that good music will create more, and new record labels will start, and new music will come out of it, and good stuff. And I think that's where we're at, that verge. We're at that kind of point, that crossroads within it. And I'm glad to be a part of it, and I've stuck by my guns, and I can't wait to create more and have more bands come out of it. And so I see a resurgence.
That's good to hear. I certainly hope so. I see a resurgence. Rock is very healthy across country. You know, I travel to guitar shows, you know, selling product that I've manufacture, and it's out there. Believe me, it's out there. It's just in the major cities, it's you know, not promoted well. But also in Europe, there's, you know, tremendous growth over there in symphonic rock and alternative hard rock. It's out there, and it's really, you know, new generation of musicians coming up right now. They're amazing players, you know.
Yeah. Amazing, especially in Nashville. And then also a lot of like older musicians like Rich taking on people like me, really trying to help the new generation create really, really good, long-lasting classic music, you know? So I see it. It just needs a little bit more organization, but I think we need to weed out all of the, you know, the bad stuff, which is just that commercialized sort of, all right, what's the new trend? Let's just make some money here. You need bands. You need people that are committed to the music and not trying to be famous or try to do it for money, because there ain't no money in it now. It's more about your soul. So I think if we have more of that, I think you'll see a turnaround here soon.
Well, Brett, what is the next step for Hellings? You know, will there be club performances, more recording, or any touring coming up?
I think a little combination of both. We're playing the Whiskey May 6th, which is going to be fun with this band Red Voodoo, which is going to be cool. A new rock and roll band coming up. I love playing with, like, you know, newer rock and roll bands. We're going to be doing club dates, but we're launching this PR campaign across the worldwide, US, UK, for this Chance on Love, working with Lori Lasurian, who's really big in Rogers Cowan and PMK. And we're looking to really market this thing and get it out there. We did all the hard work. We did all the songwriting. We did all of that. But I will be playing New York and LA and some Nashville and some club dates. First the Whiskey, probably the Cutting Room over in New York. You could check that all out at the hellings.music or on our Instagram at Hellings Music when we're going to be playing. And then after this push, back into the studio and getting Rich, once he gets off the road again with guns, which they never seem to get off the road that much. They've done, I think this is their third world tour. But I love working with him so much that waiting for that, writing and getting back into the studio. So, but you'll be seeing us soon. But you could see us at the Whiskey in May if you guys want to come out. And I hope that you can make it, because I would love to meet you and grab a drink with you.
Oh, I'd enjoy that very much, man. Very much. Well, you know, Brett, that does bring us to the end of our show today. People listening, you can keep in touch with Brett and his band Hellings, like he said, at hellings.music, and of course on social media. Brett, thanks for being our guest today on the Rock Music Alliance.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay. See you guys soon.
I'm Cole Coleman, and for the Rock Music Alliance and the RMA Awards, thanks for watching and listening. Visit us at rockmusicalliance.com and check out this year's RMA Awards for rock, metal, and progressive rock music.